managed to poke myself in the eye this, with this needle like leaf. Um, so I want to talk specifically about the specific aspects when it comes to Sun Uranus, because there are some differences when it comes to what the behavior and the results are. The conjunction is the most notorious for a showing a persistent blind spot when it comes to our self assertion and lack of humility. This is greatly mitigated if you have an aspect to Saturn, particularly if you have Sun in the middle of Uranus and Saturn, like Uranus, Sun, Saturn, or Sun in aspect of both the Sun and Uranus in a conjunction, or in a good aspect from Sun to Saturn in some other way. So it can bring some humility and groundedness. Oh, Michael, you have Mars in conjunct Uranus. We'll talk about that. Um, Similar to a Sun Uranus aspect, but not exactly the same. Mars Uranus is more knee jerk. Sun Uranus is more conscious. We have more awareness in what we do. They're not quite as reactive as of aspects, but both Sun Uranus or Mars Uranus are both going to lead to a lot of an abundance of willpower. So with in conjunctions, we do get into trouble with the Sun Uranus in conjunctions, because there's two sides to us that aren't in alignment with each other anytime we have an in conjunction. So the one side where we have the individuality, that's the identity we want to build, that's the validity we want, the kind of applause and attention we want, that's the Sun. That's described by the sign that the Sun is in. And then we have Uranus, which is the other side. That's what we do to assert our independence. It's kind of how we put the Sun on steroids. Yeah. Because the Sun is the Sun is the performer, Uranus is the audience. So with the in conjunction, we go overboard. Any in conjunction is going to show some kind of overboard behavior. The overboard we're dealing with Sun Uranus aspects is um, going out of our way with the in conjunction with all of them, but especially with the in conjunction, going out of our way to assert ourselves and show that we're independent after we have conformed, because we're dealing with one side of the personality that Sun, wants this certain type of attention, and then there's the other side. We're going to have to rush to the other side to get a certain type of input on the other side. So we have to figure out how we're holding back, and then acting out doubly independently because we held back. And the force of that expression upsets the apple cart, or the system that we put in place. So, square between Sun and Uranus, that's an interesting one. We experience more blowback from everybody. We may not experience blowback with the Sun conjunction. We won't with the sextile or the trine because we don't have ways of being that go against the grain in such a way that would cause blowback, opposition, conflict. With the square and with the opposition, but with the square, we tend to assert ourselves or our willpower in a way that causes most avenues of acceptance to be blocked in some way, or for us to experience, hearing no, or we're too much, or they aren't in step with us. So we have to look at what is it worth to us to get the kind of outcome that we want. Sometimes we can be so unwilling with the square to change or to cooperate or to adjust what we're doing or what we're being in such a way that we could get the outcome that we want because we feel like that's the threat to the identity. And so we're the only ones that can do it. And with the square, oh, we might be the worst when it comes to this. No, the conjunction is worse. We're the only ones that can do it. Nobody can make us do things with these difficult aspects. But if we do choose it, if we do choose to do what it takes, then we start to see that people open doors for us, offer us things, help us out. There's this harmony that we can achieve and we can still get to be ourselves. That's what we find when we solve any of the hard aspects. That I can be myself and have a job. I can be myself and have a relationship. I can be myself and still be accepted as a son or a daughter. But you have to look at what is the price you're paying and what are you doing? What are you doing to be yourself? And what are the circumstances that you're doing that in? So, an example would be like a teenager, say, that has Sun Uranus square, and they go to say a private school with a dress code, but their personal expression absolutely demands that they shave their hair into a mohawk because that's what feels good to them. That's what describes them. That's who they feel that they are. And then, we go to school and we experience conflict, blowback, discipline because we've gone against the status quo, we've gone against the code. And with the square, the other hard aspects, not necessarily, we don't necessarily see this with the conjunction. We'll then blame the outside situation, conditions, the times. And in a sense, we are right. Yeah. Maybe we are ahead of our time. Maybe if we did live somebody somewhere else, this wouldn't be happening. Maybe if people were more open or weren't as uptight, no, this wouldn't be happening. All those things are true. But that's not the reality that you live in. Maybe that's the reality, the more progressed reality that you should live in. We don't live in a world of shoulds. We live in what is. And so we have to accept that this is where things are at, or this is the expectation. And am I going to try to change it? Maybe that might be worth it. Or live, I guess, put up and shut up while I have to live under, these restrictions. We have to look at what is our rebellion worth to us. That's what it comes down to. What's it worth to me? Sometimes it's really worth it to go Rosa Parks. It's really worth it. But you have to pick your battles. When you do, the ones that you pick are real effective. But if you're fighting everything, then we tend to just be seen as unmanageable. And we aren't taken seriously. So, yeah, the square is interesting. When we come into enough maturity where we can self-manage, we can become really effective because we're choosing things. We're not being made to do things. Things go really bad when we're made to do things. We're probably going to do something that is not good for you or for me if you make me do things. Um, so the more pressure is applied, the more the rebellion, yeah, is going to come up. So you have to give people space. You have to give them time. You have to give them options. So if you want your child with Sun Uranus aspects to eat their peas, you don't say you sit there until you eat your peas. They'll be there until they're in menopause. You say, if you choose to eat your peas, then you can have ice cream. No, but if you don't eat your peas, then no ice cream. But you get to choose. But there is a consequence. And we do need to know that with Sun or Mars Uranus aspects. We do need to know that there is a social or karmic consequence for being different, for saying no, for being counterculture, for saying things that other people find shocking or that upset the system. With the hard aspects, we don't want to take responsibility for the fallout. We want to blame everything around us. And yeah, maybe they are idiots and they are stupid and they should be listening. You're probably right. Well, Michael, yeah, there can be negative consequences for being compliant. But we're learning to we're learning to discern the difference. See, the thing is if we with Sun Saturn, it's the opposite lesson. It is more the compliance that we're driven towards rather than the non-compliance. That's its own problem. So just doing because you've been told to, or because everybody else is doing it, or because you want acceptance, that is an issue. That is a symptom of having failed the individuation process, but also a symptom of failure in the individuation process is never being able to conform, even when it's in your best interest. Because it makes sense sometimes. Sometimes fads are there for a reason. They make sense. And sometimes fads are the dumbest thing ever. They make no sense. So when you can understand the difference, this is when we, say yes to things that sometimes are regular. Maybe everybody's doing it, but we see that, yeah, I like it too. Even if it means I'm part of the crowd, I still like it. So, yeah, I think we grow out of our insistence on our uniqueness. That's what actually makes us unique. Mhm. You grow out of all of that because you're coming into your authenticity. That is a totally unique way of being. When you really, really do individuate and you're led by higher guidance and intuition, what feels good to you, what sits right with your soul, that's really living on the edge. I mean, you never know what's going to happen next because it's not based on the past. Yeah, boy, that's an exciting life to be in tune with the moment. We can just lose ourselves in it, which is what we're trying to do in the easy way with the difficult aspects. But we can get there legit and find and put our feet up, earlier in life than other people because we can find a way to reap the rewards. I'll move over from this. Oh my God, this needle like palm frond. So with the conjunction, this is the one that is the most brain dead of all the aspects because we just do not realize how our independence makes us a jerk. I would say that some of the people that I've loved the most have had the conjunction. They make the best friends. They're difficult to live with, though, in personal relationships. Any of the hard aspects, but particularly the conjunction. Because they are so unconscious, we don't realize that we are asserting ourselves to the degree that we do, or that we demand the kind of deference or space or freedom that we don't always allow for others. So people with the conjunction tend to live like single people, even though they are in a relationship. I will tell you what, that is one of the things that drives me most crazy in life. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've been in a few relationships with people with the conjunction. They have so many good things to offer. But if you want to be in a relationship, you have to be willing to act like you are in a relationship. If we just get in a relationship and then we still do what we've always done when we want to do it, we're not showing respect or deference or reverence for that relationship. So we have to look at what is it we think we're entitled to? Because we do tend to have pretty severe entitlement problems with unsolved Sun Uranus hard aspects. And that can lead us to isolation, thinking that we deserve more or that we have more weight. We can find that later on in life, we are actually more alone. We don't have the kind of tribe that we really want. And so with the conjunction's the most notorious for having us, get on in years and then look around and realize that, because of the strength of our independence or our willpower, our assertion of self, we don't have the kind of connection or social circle or relationships that we want. So we have to become more humble. Now, again, if you have a Saturn aspect, it's really going to make this maybe not a huge lesson because we'll have the humility built in to the sun in a different way. But look at everything. The Sun Uranus conjunction, like in a fire sign at the midheaven or at the ascendant, or maybe in the fifth with no aspects to Saturn, there's going to be more of ego assertion, without the commensurate humility or acknowledgement that we are not the master and commander of all that exists. The quintile between Sun and Uranus. Oh my God, can we get away with everything with this one? You can come in 25 minutes late, where anybody else with Sun Uranus aspects, they'll come in, 5 minutes late, but they know that they can't get away with more. But we're right on the edge. We'll push it right to the edge because we are not going to conform. We aren't going to show up when you tell us to. The conjunction, though, I'm sorry, the quintile, they'll show up with their top hat and their cane, 15, 20-minute late, punch their punch card in with style, then turn around. I'm here. Let's start the day. There's some kind of theme music following them around. Some kind of background music that goes everywhere they go. A live band. We are quite the pimp with Sun Uranus, Mars Uranus contacts because the timing with which we push the limit always hit good. We're right on. You see, you can get away with anything with quintiles because we're like specialists. We're styling. We're a player. We can get away with it. You may not get away with it with an opposition. You might be a player, but your time it's going to expire. Quintiles are funny because we develop this charm. And it just cashes checks. It gets us out of tickets. It gets us acceptance. It's our tool in our toolbox. Biquintiles is like, no, they come with an innocence and lack of consequences. The quintiles are not innocent. We know what we're employing. We know what's in our favor. But biquintiles are like, I I I have that magic? I have that capability? I did that? Really? Oh. Oh my god. I'm so cool. I don't know why. So there's just this lack of agenda, knowledge, forethought, and we are just truly landing on our feet. So, oh, Michael, look at you. Biquintile between Uranus and Jupiter. That's fabulous. The quintile, the biquintile, trine between Jupiter and Uranus is really, really good stuff. We will land on our feet. More instances of luck or abundance or fall into the right kind of education, find the right teachers, opportunities. Yeah. Do you live in Monaco, Michael? That's a good one. Maybe the birth chart of Monaco has that particular biquintile. Um, Oh, imaging, the in conjunction. I talked about that one a little bit. That's when we repress and then overdo. So we'll try to keep it in, we'll try to conform, and then we're like, cat's out of the bag. I gotta be me. And then we overdo the rebelliousness and we will get blowback, more actually than usual, which is what we were afraid of in the first place. That's why we tried to be good, but then we couldn't because we have to be ourselves. And now we have twice as much conflict on our hands. So you have to keep pace. The part of you has that wants acceptance has to keep pace with the part of you that needs to be free. Both should get to experience. Both should be able to experience life. Both should be expressed. So we don't have that issue with the trine. I think somebody here has the trine. They just said fabulous. I mean, the sun, Uranus trine. Whoa, we're able to see what we want to be and have this clairvoyance about what's likely to happen if we pursue that course. What kind of acceptance is there? It's like we have a vision for what is the outcome. Ooh, fire spirit, sun trine Uranus and conjunct Pluto. Look at you. That's going to be helpful. Sun Pluto conjunction and then trine to Uranus. That's going to be helpful to bring some ability that's usually not there with just a Sun Pluto conjunction to change. This is like will help insight to a crew because with Sun Pluto conjunctions, we're driven towards insight, but the identity knows that if it's found out, if it's seen, it's done. But that's what the other part of you wants most of all. So it's this chase. The thing too with Sun Pluto conjunctions, if you really look at people closely, they have this like circular motion. It's like the identity comes through and it's like there's this sharp, almost predatory, glistening look, and then it's like it's eclipsed by this wisdom or this deeper gaze, and then the identity will come through and then it's eclipsed by this deeper penetrating gaze. It's such an interesting thing to watch because you can actually see in real time like this fight between life and death, the identity wanting to be found out. Yeah, Michael, you have the conjunction. Yeah, too. I have a couple people in here. Identity wants to be found out, but it knows it's done if it's found out. And then so you have to catch it. You have to catch yourself in your devil energies. That's what it is with Sun Pluto. So a trine to Uranus or any aspect to Uranus is going to make it much more likely that you're going to have significant breakthroughs when it comes to getting out of that loop of wanting to die to all that is wanting to die to all that's familiar or all that is egoic. Probably being able to do it because you're going to find out enough about yourself. Uranus brings the truth. Oh, Michael, Sun, Uranus, and Taurus. You have a lot of major aspects. So you have a lot of work to do regarding uncovering your identity or getting it out, really wrestling it away from devil energies or what it is that you inherit. Imaging, transiting Uranus, trying the sun, downloads. Yeah, transiting Uranus in aspect of most personal planets, we're going to get an ease of cosmic information for a while. Yeah, those can be really enlightening transits. Habib, I have Saturn square Uranus. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, those hard aspects between Uranus and Saturn. I hear you. Because we feel like we're trying to drive a car with the brakes on. We want to change, but we're afraid. So we go from past to future, and it does keep things from going off the rails. It does keep us from going too fast. And on the other hand, it keeps us from just staying in the past as well. So you have to find that balance there between growth and safety. Winddial Farm. Yeah, he's 11, so he's coming into where he's gonna start to not listen to you. So, this is like that last year that mom actually has a voice. So, I would treat him, more, like an adult than what you probably planned to, and give him the kind of deference and respect, that we need with those kinds of hard aspects. Imaging. Not all Sun Uranus types are girls who don't shave on a commune. No, some are incredibly traditional, dogmatic even. That's the other side of Uranus. Yeah, absolutely. So we can be very staunch or set in our ways or sure about our um yeah, our ideology, I guess, or our way of being. So it that's the thing is that Uranus can become antiquated if we don't come into, I guess, an acceptance of what's worth what's worth breaking through or what's worth updating. Because yeah, Uranian influences it's like moving out to a progressive commune somewhere and then deciding, this is it for me, and then we close down. Or we, find some kind of even like a traditional, um, belief system, but we see that it's not something that carries favor as much anymore. That's when we can kind of close down or decide that, one thing is the thing, and it will prevent growth. Yeah, FG, this is a members only stream. That's a good way to put it, Imogene. It's all mine versus I'm nobody's. Yeah, it depends on which side of Sun Uranus we're airing on because every sign and every aspect, every planet has a different potential. We can see the evolved or devolved potential. hmm So the evolved potential, we're saying no, to the things that really don't work for us, and yes to the things that do. I don't know, FG. Are you a channel member? If not, I don't know. Um, we're gonna have to figure that out. You must have a subscription, or we've had some kind of strange crossover. But yeah, you don't seem to have a star on your name, so that's interesting. I don't know. Hey, Donnie. Well, Donnie, you don't have a star either, but you're also a member, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Hey, Donnie. It must still be in effect. It runs out. It's still effective until a, certain period of time. Um, so I guess that's what I have to say about that. Um, think about what it is that your knee jerk reactions are telling you to do if you have the hard aspects. That's what I would say. I would advise that. Think about it. Is it in service to your ultimate goal, or is it in service to asserting yourself in the moment in such a way where you keep some amount of power in the moment? Or you're able to detach in a way in the moment. Yeah, it facilitates individuality, but it doesn't facilitate cooperation. Michael, I mean, knee jerk reactions, I mean, spontaneous reactions, what we do when we're not thinking, we're just reacting. Uranus is reactivity, and with the difficult aspects, we really suffer from more overblown reactions or spontaneous reactions because, yes, impulse is imaging because we're not thinking before we're doing. And usually that it's going to contain a lot of fuel when we're doing that because it comes out of uh, pushing back against something or reacting to something. That doesn't that's like a boil rather than a simmer. So it reveals some of our immaturity. Yeah, so we want to learn how to go with the flow, how to be impulsive, how to be revolutionary without being stupid. We get stupid when we get too reactive. And that's the thing with Mars, that's the thing with Uranus, even Jupiter. We get stupid with Jupiter too because we're not thinking ahead. Oh, FG, Saturn and Aries. Yeah, that is gonna show some massive immaturity among world populations. Yeah. Yeah, the good aspects, imaging, that's a good point. They are hot and they are fun. Yeah, because they don't bring consequences. We're able to include ourselves and others, the moment and the future successfully. Mm. All right, guys. I think I'm going to go make some dinner. It's good to see you. Oh, FG, Saturn is opposite your natal Uranus right now. So you are pulled like taffy. That's a rough transit because tradition is going to have to give in to progress. And there's some things though that are worth keeping. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But that is a something that's kind of like a earthquake, how the tectonic plates grind against each other and eventually it gives. That's when that Uranian impulse sets in and you're like, I don't care what happens. I just got to let go. I have to change. I have to react. I have to be something has got to be different. So, yeah, those Saturn Uranus transits are no joke because the tension builds and it builds and it builds until it explodes. And it does create the opposition, the square, it does create fallout. You're going to have to do some cleanup there. So, look at what needs to be changed and choose to do it before outside forces make you do it. That's the key with the opposition. So then you're not going to feel like everything is working against you. You're going to feel like you're working with the limited powers that be so that you can become more empowered in the life of your own choosing. But you're going to have to work some for it. There isn't a fairy godmother with the Saturn Uranus combination. We want there to be one, because if only there was, we wouldn't have to create this mess in order to move forward. But there will be some degree of mess. Accept it. I had to accept that with my house. That's why I put off building a bathroom for so long, because I knew it was going to suck. My house was going to be a mess. And I didn't want to live like that. But it just came to the point where it's like, I have to. I've put it off. It's ridiculous that I have a basic bathroom. I don't have a nice bathroom. I have to put up with this while this construction is going on. I have to accept that there's going to be disarray. That's the price. So that's where you're at, my friend. Oh, FG, just got out of rehab. So you are now moving forward with accepting a greater degree of responsibility for your life. You got the memo. Good for you. Astrology is real. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.